So all your pieces are in place and you're ready to start your story. Well, the real story starts with a term you probably know, the inciting incident, or as we call it, the catalyst. And believe it or not, it's one of the most important parts of your story. So in this lesson, we're going to cover what the catalyst is, why it's so critical to your story, and a sneaky technique you can use to make sure your catalyst completely hooks your audience in and leaves them begging to know what happens next. This video is a lesson from a full free mega course on our website. If you're ready to supercharge your storytelling, click the link in the description and start your journey today. This video is also part of a series, so if you haven't watched the previous videos, there are links down below. Let's start off with what the catalyst is. Simply, it's the big event that starts your plot. It's the second step of USL and is the first moment, meaning it normally happens in one scene. It sets up the opportunity, the goal, and may hint at the stakes. And importantly, it implies the obligatory scene. So with all that said, let's break it apart. The catalyst is the spark that starts the story. One common term we've mentioned is the call to adventure, which is another way of thinking of the catalyst. The protag is minding their own business until the catalyst bursts in and launches them onto their journey. This could be a twister that sucks them into a wondrous land, like in The Wizard of Oz, a mastermind terrorist interrupting a Christmas party, like in Die Hard, or a magical sister plunging their city into an eternal winter, like in Frozen. If you look at any of these examples, you'll notice three common elements. First, the catalyst must be life-changing. It's normally a huge event, or at the least has a huge impact on the protag. It's not just meeting a new crush, but meeting the love of their life. It's not just a detective receiving a routine case, but the case that will make their career and change their life forever. Second, it happens to the protag. This is not a choice the protag makes. They're either surprised by the catalyst or, at the very least, stumble into it. In other words, it is unexpected and often comes from outside their normal environment. And third, it is the core of the premise, or what the story is about. The Wizard of Oz is about Dorothy in Oz, so the catalyst is obviously her landing in Oz. Frozen is about Anna stopping Elsa's eternal winter, so the catalyst is obviously Elsa starting said eternal winter. As the core of the premise, this event is almost always what starts the plot. Because of this, the catalyst is one of the most important parts of your story, because it's what your story is about. This makes it critical to get right. It's also what makes your story unique. The specifics of your catalyst should be different than any other catalyst, even though they all accomplish the same thing. And what is it that every catalyst accomplishes? It introduces the goal, usually through an opportunity. Remember how the protag wants something which is established in the setup? Well, here, the catalyst will present an opportunity for the protag to achieve their want. In other words, it gives them a goal, and if they complete that goal, they should, in theory, fulfill their want. In Moana, protag Moana longs to explore beyond her island. So when her grandmother gives her the heart of Te Fiti in the catalyst and says she must return it to where it was stolen from, this not only gives Moana the goal of returning the stone to the island of Te Fiti, but also an opportunity to explore beyond her island, which is her want. The trick here is to find the catalyst that perfectly fits with your protag, or to build a protag that is perfect for your catalyst. And we'll cover this more in the extended version of this lesson. The catalyst may also introduce the stakes, which are the consequences should the protag fail to achieve their goal. But these are often implied or fleshed out in the next phase, the hesitation. The best catalysts also imply something called the obligatory scene, which is another word for the story climax. The obligatory scene is basically the scene that absolutely needs to happen for your story to end. In our Moana example, it's the scene where Moana returns the heart of Te Fiti to its island. In most showdown stories, like Die Hard, it's the final confrontation between the protag and the antag where only one can win. A strong catalyst will put an image in the audience's mind of where the story is headed. Structuralist Michael Hagg calls this the finish line, which is a good visual metaphor. The catalyst points your audience towards the story climax, giving them an expectation to look forward to. If there are any incredible obligatory scenes you can think of, comment them down below. Which leads us into a great trick to create a gripping catalyst. You can think about this as a hook, though that term is also used in a different way. Sometimes when people talk about the hook, they're talking about the first line in a novel or the first moment of a story that plants a question in the audience's mind that they can't help but want to know the answer to. This will help keep them around until the catalyst, when the story blasts off. However, try to think of that version of the hook as the mini hook, and think about the catalyst as the big hook. Why? Because the best catalysts ask a question. Will the protag achieve their goal? And if the desire to know the answer is strong enough, this will hook the audience in for the rest of your story. To make your hook more gripping, you can ratchet up the stakes, make sure the obligatory scene is clearly implied, and make your want so compelling that it fuels your protag towards the goal. And with that, we've reached the end of this lesson on the catalyst. You should now have a good grasp on what the catalyst is, why it's so critical, and how to plant a question in your audience's mind that they can't help but find out the answer to. But if you really want to master the catalyst, the extended version of this lesson covers the two main types of catalysts, the trick to perfectly pairing your catalyst with your protag, and shows this moment in action with an in-depth example of the 2007 indie classic, Juno. See you there.